Guys, we are going into Endwalker, and I did a patch notes reading. It took me 47 minutes. It took Brian and I 2 hours. Let's go over the changes, hyper speed. If you want more, go check out the other versions. We are going into a new expansion. That means new zones, new dungeons, new MSQ, new loot, new bardings, new mounts, new minions, new role quests. All of those things that we got in Shadowbringers, they are, of course, continuing. Role quests, we're going to have 5 instead of 4. But otherwise, we're moving our Crystalline Mean into being the Studium. They will, of course, have role quests as well. If you do them all, then you, of course, get your extra set. And now when people talk, you'll be able to display their character portraits alongside their dialogue. That's an option. When you're going back to do things, cutscenes in your inn, you'll have to be the right class. And we are going to add new leaves to your tradecraft and fieldcraft because we are adjusting the way high quality works. Those will be adjusted. They're also taking away, as they're tuning down the bonus for doing multiple turn-in type stuff. And they're tuning up the ability for single turn-ins. And then if you're doing anything below level 80, above level 80, it's going to grant basically no experience. They are trying to increase the amount of guild to make things really useful for both crafters and fishers. And with our new zones, we're getting new fates. We're getting new gemstone things for our bicolor gemstones. We're getting new treasure maps. We are adjusting our tomestones, so all of our existing ones are going to fall down into being poetics. We'll get new ones added. Remember, the big collectible ones are not added until week 4 with Savage. So take your time. Enjoy the story. There's no need to rush. Supply and provisioning missions and all this Grand Company stuff is being changed. Remember that we are getting some new like loot coffer things. The Grand Company buff that now changes the way you run faster in capital cities got a new name change to be better in line with the fact that it changes how it works. We will be able to visit the new housing district. We will not be able to buy houses in that district until 6.1, but with the lottery system on its way, you will no longer be able to relocate to existing plots that are not yet ready, and you'll not be able to jump the line because that's going away anyway. We have added new furnishings for those of you that have access to it. We are going to have level 90 target dummies in Favnair because we are now level 90. The game has new music, so it has new orchestrant scrolls. The aquarium fish, we've added new aquarium fish, and we've made it easier to use that system. We've added new seeds, and those will be purchasable from material suppliers. MGP loot has been increased. We have added new cards to the game from new opponents in the new areas. You'll be able to do matches in those areas. Remember, Male Viera was added. Go ahead and get yours started on the test thing today, your benchmark, and you can pop your Fantasia before the server shut off for Shadowbringers. That way you're ready to go. The new hairstyle options have been added for female. They're working on that. Roth, 6.1, guys, 6.1. Derplander now has stubble. Our new trust dungeon stuff has Estinian in it. He won't be able to go back into Shadowbringers with us. Their levels will increase to 90. Remember that we are decreasing the amount of experience needed per level, but we are also decreasing the amount of experience we get from things. We're making trash no longer drop experience. Now the bosses will just drop all of it. And so in order to get us into that system very easily and quickly, they are unfortunately going to have to round off any partial levels you have. So if you're at 79.9, go run some fates, hit 80 in time for the servers to go offline. If you're like 17.1, just let it go. It's fine. Sorry. Wondrous Tales, we're going to get new rewards added. That makes sense. And then, of course, your bingo card's going to be able to have some content in it that's higher level because that's all now considered legacy content. Endwalker will have sightseeing. And then all of our challenge log stuff will adjust because the systems themselves are adjusting. Skywatcher NPCs in here will tell us about the weather. And with all of our battle system going to level 90, they will, of course, get new loot and all this, but because we're going through a stat squish, which reduces us down, your gear, your attributes, and all of that will have to be adjusted to make everything feel the same, even though it's all smaller numbers. With Reaper and Sage being added, what you need to know is that Reaper starts in Ul'dah, Sage starts in Limsa. Get to it. If you want to know about the job action trailer, all that stuff has been covered. We have increased the time frame from 15 to 30 seconds so that you don't break combos. Limit breaks won't break combos. Ranged attacks for melee won't break combos. And your healer limit break will res people. That level 3 limit break will res people at 50 yalms instead of 30, making it less likely that they're just on the far side of the arena and they screw over the group by accident. So with the downscaling going on, just keep in mind there's lots of adjustments because like the experience, that means everything that has attributes on it, everything that drops experience will have to be adjusted as well. Your armory bonus for anybody below level 80 will increase from 50 to 100%, making it easier to go chase your ammo, get your Omni 80. And so that'll be a little bit easier. And your Road to 70 buff will now be a Road to 80 buff. Of course, the new expansion has new enemies, new dungeons. They're adjusting the way items work. We're now moving to like a coffer type system across the board. It'll make it easier to get the right weapon because things are just going to start. They're adjusting item levels and they're just making it easier. You don't need to know how any of it works, except that when you run old content, it's going to just be easier to get the thing you wanted. Players will now be able to gain experience from level 80 content, because we can go above level 80, and our Rathalos fight will have a new visual indication for Shattering Tail. Unreal Trials that are added every single patch and expire with that patch. Leviathan will expire as expected. They didn't add one with 6.0. I think we got a handful of things to do instead. They will be adding one with 6.1, so we're going to just gap out on that, and that naturally means the foe system will be unavailable. Here's the coffer changes. It's just going to make it easier, and Paladins, you're going to get both the sword and the shield, but then desynthing those is effectively going to give you the same as if you've just gotten one weapon if you desynth both. They're just making it easier to get what you want. We are adding Echo to our Cloud deck and its Extreme, and we are increasing the Echo on E12S from 15 to 20%. We are adding a Stone Sky C to level 90. You'll need to deal with that in the secondary city, just like before. And then Tower Paradigm's Breach is now legacy content, so remove the weekly restriction. The new expansion will have elite marks added, and those will drop nuts. So get to it. Go get your sacks of nuts and exchange those in the new zones. And then Reaper and Sage, they will be getting loot from the deep dungeon system. They won't be getting loot from the relics. That's how it's always done. We can now sort in our relic zones by the class and job, and the error messages across the board, naming conventions across the board have just been cleaned up across the entire game. So if something's phrased a little bit different, it's just going to be easier to tell what is what now. Those of you running DR, the max wait time is now set strict to 10 minutes, and if you get tossed into 10 minutes and the party's not full, it'll give you Echo to deal with it. Here's our Tomestone change. Everything's dropping down to Poetics. We will get new tomes. We are changing, for example, one of the names we're changing is Undersized, which kind of confuses people, to Unrestricted. The Raid Finder, now the Shadowbringers raids don't make sense to be in there. We're pulling those out. Ultimates will stay in, and then I'm sure we'll add that back as we add raids to the game. 50, 60, 70 is moving to 50, 60, 70, 80. We weren't quite sure which would happen there. Obviously, it doesn't make sense for them to drop tones that don't exist, so the rewards have been adjusted. PvP actions for Reaper and Sage because they're new jobs, and obviously Chocobo experience will be affected by everything else. The Feast, we are moving into our last Feast season, really. So with 6.1, we're moving to a new system. Enjoy PvP. The new system looks great too. And with 6.0, we are, of course, getting new items, new recipes, and we are changing the way our loot system works. We are removing the belt slot. Your belts will just go to the Calamity Salvager if they were equipped. They'll just stay in your inventory if they were there. You'll still be able to remove them from the game in all the same ways. Desynth, Grand Company, or Vendor. And then those slots are getting split across main, hand, and rings, jumping those both up to 50 slots apiece. Experience items getting some cleaner quest text, but they are effectively the exact same. Sale prices for things changed. Flanchard becomes Solarettes. And our Shadowbringers rings, we can now equip a left and a right one the way we can in other old expansions. We will be able to dye artifact gear after progressing to a certain point in role quests and main scenario in a new system. And we are removing the gender restriction on a handful of items. In accordance with the downscaling, we have to, of course, adjust the attributes. Otherwise, those would get weird. And our relic weapons obviously are going to have to adjust as well. Piety isn't going to make sense on some items anymore, so we'll remove that where it exists. And the tank gear, it's going to function a little differently, so your recommended gear is going to handle that for you. The players can no longer cast lots on coffers that you wouldn't be able to actually use, but weapon coffers don't count because you might actually want those. The error message that displays is going to be just cleaner. Here is your whole belt section. I put out a video on Gaming Kinda about it. It's fine. You don't have to do anything prior to the expansion going live. It's just cleaner. They were non-cosmetic slots anyway. So they're going to the Calamity Salvager. They'll have a retrieve obsolete belts. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Any achievement that needed them will obviously be cleaned up as well. The Eureka belt is now becoming a Eureka ring, and Shadowbringers now being a legacy expansion gets its legacy tombstone vendor just like every other one. Those now have this handy little drop down here. Those are amazing. We are going to clean up. We're going to add things to the Calamity Salvager, and we are going to clean up the way some of the Calamity Salvager stuff works, just keeping it all in line. And the amount of experience points required to level up hand and land has been adjusted and will obviously be reset as well. We are changing our scripts just like tomes, and so we are now adding purples. The reds will disappear. They were already discontinued. Yellows will drop down into the discontinued state. Whites will drop down into the infinitely acquirable state. And then everything in line with that will fall in place and work exactly the same, except that our script window is now a unified script exchange, way better, and these big confusing categories will now just be tradecraft and fieldcraft. Way easier. We'll get flying text for CP and GP. Nice little change there. And then we are moving to our paladin, now having our swords and shields being just craft both at once. And we will be able to start our housing stuff is dropping from housing 1 and 2, which is vague, to breaking those into proper categories. We are removing high quality gathering items, and so the crafting pane to make it very clear what can increase quality and what cannot is getting an icon. The Skysteel tools are no longer, and anything else that's going to require high quality turn-ins where that's no longer possible will no longer do so. The experience for Ishgard and for other custom deliveries will be adjusted to account for these changes and to keep you from either A, abusing them, or B, them breaking. And due to downscaling, the progress and quality had to be adjusted. Now, what is happening to the gathering stuff? The gathering stuff here is now going to be Gatherer's Boon, which will increase the total yield. It will also, as a result, increase experience, just like high quality would have. It will add towards achievements, just like high quality would have. It will tell about perception updates. They're keeping perception valid and useful. We don't really worry about vitality on crafters and gatherers. There we go. On gatherers anyway, so that doesn't really matter. And our gathering log is going to be cleaned up to be sorted from highest level to lowest level, and categories under the special tab will be adjusted as well. Any item that could be gathered as high quality from gathering, fishing, skins and stuff like that, from deceiving enemies, things we got from tombstones, ethereal reduction, those have been removed. Crafting has been adjusted to account for this. Ethereal reduction, for example, grants more items now. And so they are adjusting the game so that it effectively feels the same. It should make inventory a lot easier to manage. We'll just have to see what it feels like. And then obviously anything that required those can no longer require those. Anything that incentivized those now has to boost up what normal quality did, but then doesn't have high quality as that option. Fishing is keeping high quality. They're moving to the term large fish. And so anything that took high quality for like mooch or patience is now just going to be large fish. So it's effectively staying the same. If you have high quality things in your inventory, they're going to function as normal. You can right click lower quality like you could before. And if you don't do that, if you turn them into Grand Company, it'll do it for you. If you try to trade with other players, you're not going to be able to do that yet. Spearfishing is moving to a mini game. So you'll go to Teeming Waters. You'll have a wariness, which will tell you how long you have left on the node. If it has a high quality icon, that's a guaranteed high quality. And then the catch icon is kind of your combo there. And that's what determines the rate of the wariness. So that lets you kind of make that whole system. We'll just see how fun it is. And then as a result, we're going to change everything dealing with spearfishing to account for the way that all works. There will be new fishing nodes and all that because there's new zones anyway. So you'll get all the same experience bonuses and stuff as if it was high quality. They're just changing the phrase to large fish. It doesn't really matter. The baits are getting cheaper. We are getting regional folklores and gathering points in the new zones, and those will, of course, have new items and have new ethereal reductions tied to them. Because we don't have high quality, the ethereal reduction is going to increase the number of things used, and then our descent system has to go up because item levels are going up. We do get, remember, new mounts, new minions, new bardings, and new fashion accessories. And in Old Charland, we will have a new market board, reduced tax rates and stuff being adjusted. It's not really negotiable, so it'll just handle it for you. Your retainers will be able to go to level 90. It would be possible to have one as a Reaper and Sage, provided you meet the requirements. And your retainers are stuck at the level you are. They are going to be affected by the same experience squish as everybody else. And they will be able to get all the new items and and be adjusted just like you are. So their perception will increase their quantities and things like that. There are some little things where you could, like, in certain menus, you can search for recipes or search for item by gathering method. That's now getting added to more screens, like your retainers. The achievement pane looks a little bit different now. It should just feel better. Near completion and recommended move to the top, and should allow us to filter that a little bit cleaner. There will, of course, be new achievements entitled added for a new expansion. With the cost of Aetheryte teleport tickets being adjusted, your Aetheryte tickets will now have a setting to be usable only when the gil is set above a certain amount. You can set behaviors there, which I think will keep you from burning a ticket on a 136 if you don't care about that. Meanwhile, you might want to burn one if it's 1,000. The Aethernet system is going to be a lot easier to navigate within capital cities, but it will not be adjusted for the relic-related zones or the firmament. The world map, the world's getting a little bit bigger, so our world map is going to get bigger alongside with it. You controller players will have a keybind for that. For the fact that we have new classes added to the game, our party finder has been adjusted. We have also added the ability to sort by specific locations, and we are going to have the ability, since healers are separated into barrier and pure healer, you will have the ability to say, you know what, I'll take either barrier or either heal when you're setting that up. You will no longer see party finder listings that you're not eligible for based on your class, because they already have somebody in that class, so it should make it easier to navigate that window during peak hours when it really fills up. The party finder list will now display the target of spells cast by party members, so you people raising people, anybody that has ever cast raise, we now know this raise is going out on person number 1, and so I know that if the other tank is down, I need to raise person number whatever that slot is in. So that'll be really, really nice. If you have ever tried to deal with getting Aether Currents, the previous zones, the Aether Currents, for anybody that's new, that's just going to be easier now. But the Aether Compass is now going to be just something in the collection menu, not going to be something that takes up a key item spot. The people who have ever died in like Alliance raids or relic-based content, you will now keep an HP bar even when you are dead, which will make it easier for healers to see that you need a res instead of you just dropping into something that's down on the ground with everything else. Your conditional enhancements category, we can now break this out. For those of you that have things like your boss cast bar is bigger, you'll be able to do the same here. So maybe you want to track your buffs a little bit bigger or in a different spot on the screen. That should be a lot easier. For those of you that have ground attack things, that has been adjusted to where now you can set settings like don't let it go beyond, don't let me try to drag it somewhere I'm not going to be able to place it anyway. Once I push a button to activate it, let me push that same button to go ahead and confirm that's where I want it. And so on. So we've been able to add some settings there to make that a little more comfortable. Your sprout will now, instead of being 168 hours, be 300 hours. Instead of Requiem for Heroes, will be Death Unto Dawn. A lot longer when somebody is considered a sprout now. Your mentors, that bonus will now apply all the way to level 80 because it's 10 levels below cap. And to be a mentor, you're going to have to have done level 90 stuff instead of level 80 stuff. That's expected. Explorer mode is added to 6.x dungeons, but also 4.x here. So we've got 5 new Stormblood things for you guys to go explore and enjoy. Your people who like performance, that's now available in G-Pose. You can activate it from right here. G-Pose will also get new stickers, new frames, and can be initiated when you are in a duty as an NPC ally or an enemy NPC. And then when you are out in the world doing your MSQ quests and you have NPCs that accompany you, they will show up there as well. Our duty recorder is kicking over to new stuff from what is now considered old stuff. And the error messages and stuff are just getting cleaned up across the game. So if something doesn't work, it should be easier to tell why now. Server congestion. It's going to be slammed. So people who are inactive for 30 minutes are going to be logged out immediately, and new areas that are getting slammed to people will have the ability to be split into multiple instances. We've seen this before. They are constantly adding support for new peripherals and things like that. So they have taken on PS5, they've taken on the ear thing, they've taken on the Windows spatial audio, and there is UI stuff added for all the things I just described and probably more. We have some new slash commands for like multi-target mounts, immediately pulling up the patch notes, our pet glamours and pet size for you summoners out there. And then the ground targeting mode is going to be a bypass right in some of these abilities, making that an easier thing to manage macros and text commands. So we have also added to our auto-translate and auto-complete dictionaries, and PS5 players, you'll get new trophies for some of the new achievements. The sound engine is going to be able to easily tell when there's like a ton of people around. And the sounds to the game, of course, have been added because we've got new music, new sound effects, and new voices. We are getting an Oceanic Data Center, not yet, but it is time to go ahead and increase the selection screen. And we have new dark and light themes. As well as keep in mind that your title screen and movie will be adjusted to Endwalker. Reaper and Sage will be allowed in Heaven on High, so they will, of course, be able to be eligible for solo rankings. I did this in half the time. Hopefully that was fast enough for you. If you want more detail, go check out my longer version, or go check out the extremely long version on Work to Game. Take care, and I'll see you in Endwalker.